Welcome to the 43rd Leadership Levers lecture by Arindam Mukhopadhyay. He is currently the Vice President and the Global Head of CoE, a consulting organization at Gartner. And as you would know, Gartner is one of the finest technology consulting houses, which started in 1979 by Gideon Gartner. And he has a very illustrious experience of having worked with Big Four consulting firms and one of the Tier 1 consulting firm as well. And if you look at his illustrious career, after completing his graduation in electrical engineering from Jadavpur University in 1997, he started working with DRDO as a design scientist. After that, he worked for 2 years as a power system engineer at CE Limited. And after that, he worked as an IT implementation consultant at Infosys. And after that, he has got into the hardcore consulting, that is PwC, where he worked for 10 years and 5 months as Associate Director Consulting. And since 2016, he's working as a Vice President, Global Head of Consulting, CoE at Gartner. And he also wears another hat, which is very interesting, and that is he's an angel investor in many tech startups and advisor to leading startup accelerators in the country. He's an early stage investor in startups like Lyred, Local, Mob Foods, Tech Eagle, Classroot, Sustain Card, KWH Bikes, and Urban Yogi. And he's a business leader, very business leader with great business acumen, experience in growing and scaling businesses, leading strategy and sales, and building organization capabilities. And like I said, he's going to talk to us about very interesting topic, and that is digital disruptions and Indiaing some mandate. I'm sure all of us are going to have tremendous learnings out of his brief session. That's going to be for maybe 35 minutes. Afterwards, we will have your question answer. Over to you, Arindam.
Thank you. Thanks. I hope my audio is clear and video is clear.
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to begin by thanking you for inviting me for this session. And of course, all the participants, because I know that you are busy and you are in between your sessions and weekend classes. So really appreciate taking time out and being part of this session. I also am thankful to COVID because I'm taking this session in the comfort of my house, not having to travel to any locations. And I keep on saying that the technology disruption, what we have seen over the last 2.5 years due to COVID, had made so many things possible which we never thought would be possible, right? And probably 10 years of digital disruption has happened within a span of 2.5 years during the COVID. So I'm happy to be part of this session and hope it will be a good, interactive session. I'll try to make it interactive as well by asking a couple of questions to you and get your responses, which will be an equal learning for me, and also get fresh perspective from you guys. So hope we will have a good time spent during this evening. All right. So with that, let me begin. I am asked to have the session around digital disruption, key trends around that. But I want to start by giving a macro perspective or setting the macro perspective, maybe talk a little bit about innovation, how disruption and innovation, they go hand in hand, and set the context a little better. Okay. So can I ask questions to this group, Dr. Nagendra? I think we should be able to.
Yeah,
okay, all right. All right. So let me begin by asking this question, that what do you feel are the most significant macro trends that causing disruption to happen? Any perspective, I would love to hear from you, and then I will take it from there. I think you have to raise your hand and then you will be unmuted so that you can ask the question.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So I think, sir, now what has changed from the prior time is that now there has been a democratization, and the entry barriers have really come down. Earlier, one had to be a capitalist, to do something, but now anybody with an idea can come up and and create some business models.
Okay, that's a great point.
Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any other points? I'm looking for. Yeah, go ahead. Go on.
Amitabh, yeah, go
Sir,
ahead.
good evening, sir. Sir, I think that this development of this mobile ecosystem, actually, it has changed various trends towards the way business is done or conducted, especially in the context of the COVID environment which you're referring to. So most of the businesses are using this mobile ecosystem for ease of conducting business end to end. Even like, I'll give you an example of say an automobile business also before reaching the final transaction. It is majority of the work is done on the of experiencing the product, looking at the product, comparing the product is done on the mobile ecosystem. So these are some of this is one of the trend I would like to highlight.
Yeah, that's a great point. Amitav, I think you started speaking. Go on.
Yes, sir. That's the point from my side, sir. Thank you.
Okay, so that was Amitav. Okay. Any other point? Fair. So we had 2 points. One is the democratization of any new business model to come up quickly, starting on business, and the mobile based disruption. Like the mobile phone itself is a big disruptor what we have seen over the last 10 years or so. What I was rather thinking of talking about are the macro trends, and I just wanted to set the context that which is the macro trends within which we are living now. And the macro trends like inflation or recession, energy price, inflation increases the cost of product across all industries, right? Inflation that stays for longer duration, maybe 2 to 4 years. Industries have to think about cost efficiency, higher productivity. They have to operate in a new environment. They cannot just wait for the inflation to get over within just a couple of months and then the business as usual. They have to start reinventing themselves. So inflation, recession, energy price, whatever you call it, they have a big impact across all industries. Many sectors are badly impacted. For example, rising energy price probably erode margins for heavy industries like manufacturing, steel, aviations, for example. And then there are a lot of other sectors which are indirectly impacted. For example, travel. All right. So this has a big influence on how disruptions is happening. The second point I want to highlight is climate and sustainability. And if you think in the time we are living, climate and sustainability is going to be a major source of disruption for coming years, because there would be more regulations, restrictions around operating models, how industries they have to function, like utilization, oil and gas, process industries. They're all going to see major disruptions because they have to comply with a lot of these new regulations and restrictions. The third point would be the pandemic itself, because what we have seen over the last 2.5 years, what I was talking about, that's the major source of disruption. And I think something which we have seen in our lifetime, or maybe nobody has seen in our lifetime, that what a major disruption could look like. Everything stopped, and it was like rebooting all over again. And all industries, small or big, and different sectors, they got hit irrespective. But still, I think if you talk about pandemic, the way we classify the industries were like essential industries. If you talk about the food and beverage, or maybe electricity, versus discretionary industries, which are probably the home electronics, or maybe apparel, clothes, etc. So I think there were differences how every industries got impacted, and maybe how industries they got rebound from that impact of COVID and the lockdown, the physical restrictions which caused due to the pandemic, right? And there are core industries as well, which always has to run. There is no alternative, core or essential industries. And then finally, the supply chain issues, what we are seeing around the globe. And it is due to pandemic, but also coupled with the geopolitical tension which is happening due to US-China conflict or Russia-Ukraine conflict. And we are seeing that supply chain has become a major point of contention for any industry, small or big, that how they tackle this problem, that how they maintain their supply chain throughout the globe, and how they sort of make the supply chain more resilient and not getting impacted by any future eventualities which might happen. So these are the macro trends, which I think are the disruptors in themselves, which are forcing us to think business to run differently, or new business model to come up. And we are going to discuss a little more about how it is fueling digital disruptions, and how we are going to see how innovation happens in the context of disruption in itself, and then how technology is helping companies to navigate through these challenges, and how we are going through this digital transformation, what we call it. All right. Now, as I said, that innovation and disruption goes hand in hand. Okay. Innovation happens, and it's actually causes disruption. At times we have seen that. At times also disruption leads innovation to happen. Now my question to you is that which is causing the other, whether innovation causes disruption or disruption causes innovation. Okay, so I would like to open it for the floor to respond. What is your thought, that what is fueling the other? Is it innovation fueling disruption, or disruption causes innovation to happen? Any thoughts, any ideas?
So as
Anything?
you mentioned,
Yeah.
so as you mentioned, so it's it's all very contextual. For example, now because COVID happened, right? All of us were, the whole globe was in the home. So that was a disruption which happened, which gave rise to adoption of, for example, digital payments globally. So that's an example of, where disruption happened and innovation came. And second would be, so like innovation when we say, for example, a blockchain, as a technology. So that's an innovation, which will give rise to a lot of disruptions wherever, new applications can be adapted. So it is very contextual. It can happen both ways.
Yeah, that's a most common response what I've seen, that it is contextual. You are right. One caused the other, right? It has examples both ways. But take for the example of, let's say, during pandemic, we have seen the unprecedented speed of discovering vaccines, right? This whole new mRNA vaccine, which was created and rolled out within a span of just 1 year, which was never thought that would be possible, right? It was unprecedented. Now, this is a beautiful example of how disruption caused innovation, right? And also to your example, which someone mentioned, that we had this mobile phone and the mobile economy, which had created so many other disruptions to happen, because we had that powerful device in our hand, and rather everybody's hand, which fueled so many innovations and fueled so many disruptions. So it's contextual, and one can fuel the other. Just to extend the thought, I also would like to ask you all that what is innovation? What do you think innovation is? Can someone explain to me what is innovation? Any thought, any idea?
So innovation is creating of a new possibility towards improving the efficiency or effectiveness. Because without having a contextual or output, like I might create a small micro of a new thing which has no application, but so it's something new which is improving the efficiency, effectiveness, or the range of possibilities.
Okay, that's a fantastic thought. Anybody else have any perspective?
Yeah, Mr. Dapal has. Go ahead, Mr. Dapal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just birth of a new idea which can be for the betterment of the society and self.
Okay, that's very close. I mean, I have a definition which I want to share, but that's fantastic. Great thought. Any other?
Solving a problem.
Okay, that's great.
Hi, good evening. I think in my understanding, innovation is something which helps mankind. For example, if I go by innovation, say invention of bulb and something, because earlier in the medieval time, people were living in a very odd this fuel and something. But invention of bulb, it helped them to overcome that time, or say in increasing their daytime something, or per se invention of electricity that helped to grow our industry from industry 101, and then it's now we have this to industry 4.0. So this is how invention, if that invention is useful to the mankind and it helps to evolve us, go ahead in terms of economically and in terms of socially. So that is something I understand with innovation.
Okay, that's a great point, and that's an interesting point, because it leads me to coming to my my own definition of innovation. I mean, not my own definition, but the definition which I have to share with you. But the point what you made, that invention and innovation, they are one and the same. That's not exactly true. Because
Mr. Arindam,
invention.
sorry to interrupt in between. This is Pranjal. Innovation, I think, is doing something which is not thought through so far, charting into uncharted territory, basically. Impossible, doing the impossible thing, making the impossible the possible. Nobody has thought through that this can be done that way also. The way you said, the development of the vaccine in a year time, where it takes about a decade earlier, that was uncharted territory, and nobody was thought that it is possible. But because of the innovation and digitization, it was made possible.
Okay, that's very interesting. I was coming to the same point that, innovation and invention, they're two different things. I can invent that takes hundreds of years to invent, like electricity, like, electric bulb. That took so many years, researchers working day in and day out, and finally they found what electricity could look like in today's world, right? Or electric bulb could look like. Those are inventions. That's something which is novel. Nobody had invented before. It's almost like, inventing something very new for the first time ever. But innovation is not exactly invention. Okay. And let me give you the definition of innovation. And this is a definition which is I have coined from MIT Institute of Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And they have defined innovation to be, just hear it carefully, it's commercialization of an idea to solve a human problem. Okay, so a couple of important things to note. One is commercialization of an idea. The idea could exist or could be a new idea as well, to solve a human problem. So I got a little bit of all the things coming from all of you. You said that it's an idea, new idea, or an existing idea, but to solve a problem of the society at large. So I think all these good ideas came in, but also the important thing which was missed out, it's a commercialization of an idea to solve a human problem, right? That's what innovation is all about, right? So talk about the mRNA vaccine. It was probably not a novel idea. The mRNA research was going on. It was not successful, or probably we didn't have enough business reasons, or the good enough reasons to test it with the human until we faced this pandemic situation. And then suddenly, this came into the market, and then we rolled it out, we tested it, we found that it's working fine, and then we applied that to, at a mass scale, right? So it is a commercialization of an idea to solve a human problem. And towards that, I also wanted to share a beautiful framework. It is called MIT. It is again developed by Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, but the framework called MIT, which stands for Market, Implementation, and Technology. which means that all these three things should be, sort of ready for innovation to happen, which means that market should be ready. Market means the use case should be ready, the buyer surplus should be ready, people should be willing to buy the product, the price should be at an appropriate level. That is market. The implementation, which means the business model should be ready, the industry, the strategy, the patent, geography, cost, everything should be ready, which is implementation. And then technology. Technology is basically invention. The new idea should be either invented or already in place, but how do we put that in the context of the market and implementation to make all these three elements coming together and make an innovation possible, right? So this is something which is very interesting. Just to share that this MIT framework is very, very key or essential for an innovation to happen. And innovation does not necessarily mean an invention. The invention can be happened already, and innovation is just commercialization of that idea or that invention to solve a human problem. Also, a couple of other things influence innovations. For example, buyer sophistication. I mean, if the buyers wants more sophistications in their products, then also innovation can happen. I mean, within the existing product, you can innovate, something new. It could be like, autonomous cars, or one example that, we are not just satisfied by driving our cars with a steering or pressing the accelerators and the clutches. We want the car to run automatically, and autonomous car is something which is a good example that buyer sophistication also drives innovations. Also, at times, a lot of countries they are driving innovations because they have the infrastructure to drive innovations and probably research and their money spent on those innovations. For example, we have a list of most innovative countries every year coming out, and maybe Switzerland, Germany, they're at the top of those list of innovative countries. And just to give an example, Germany alone has already more than 2,600 patents in autonomous cars. And initially, they were probably not the front runner in autonomous car designs. It was run by Tesla, Google, a few others, but they have caught up. And so fast they could come up with some commercialized idea and to make an innovation which is very, very real, right? So that's an example of how innovation can happen. Now, as we know what innovation is, but to my earlier question, does disruption fuel innovations? All right. And that's a question I want to address. And while I do that, I also want to place an argument here that it is in fact the case. And for that, I would refer a book called Scale, Universal Theory of Growth. I don't know how many of you read that book, but it's a fascinating book. It's written by a scientist called Jeffrey West, and he's a physicist turned into a complexity researcher who has done a lot of modeling of cities and tried to find the patterns of how city scales and how should cities grow almost like unlimited way. I mean, his argument is that cities never fail, and even when cities grow bigger and bigger, resources become scarce, more population, more resources being used. Still, it happens almost like always that cities are able to thrive, right? It becomes bigger and then it's able to thrive even faster, right? So that's his argument, and that's something which has researched and went deeper that why it happens. And he says that it's possible due to the city infrastructure. City is basically creating that infrastructure, the foundation, which creates those intellectual capital, which enables human-to-human interactions, and finally that leads to more innovations, right? And he says that way cities are building block of innovation. And think, for example, if innovation has to happen, there has to be big cities coming up with good institutions, good research labs, good people like intellectual capital and research spend, etc., for the innovations to happen. Innovation doesn't happen from nothing, right? Innovation has to happen from something. And his argument is that cities are those building blocks which helps innovation to happen. Now, the interesting fact is that he says, I mean, nothing can grow in an unbounded fashion, right? Everything has a limit. And he says that he compares, when he compares with living animal, there is a limit how far they can grow. When they scale up, it cannot be like they can scale up to an unlimited size. He compares, for example, an elephant cannot be double the size what it is today, right? If it's double the size, then actually it will crash. It will not be able to stand. Okay. I mean, I don't want to go into the deep of his argument, but very beautiful what he has said. He says that per square of area, it is the cubic of weight which increases, and it's disproportionately balanced, and hence they will crash because of the gravity. They will not be able to carry their same weight if it scales twice or thrice of the current size. So the size of any living animal cannot be scaled to any limit or anything beyond a certain limit, right? And he has seen a pattern of how the living creatures, they scales up. He has found a lot of similarities and patterns. Just to give an example, he says that the rate of metabolism is proportionate to the body mass. If we consider very small animal, a rat, one extreme, and a very large animal, which is elephant, on the other extreme. And if you plot, one axis is, let's say, the rate of metabolism, which is how fast you burn your calories, and one axis is your body mass. All these fall in a straight line. And that is surprisingly true. And that's something which has, found in many other those characteristics, which he says that those shows linear pattern. And he says that even cities show some kind of similar patterns when he compares the city's characteristics with the living animals' characteristics. The city characteristics, such as, let's say, patents per population. Okay, and he says that a small city will have patent per population, and a big city will have a patent per population which is in a straight line, right? It's not really scattered chart. He says that's true across the globe. All cities put together, it will show like a straight line. It's a linear relationship. If you grow, you have more pattern. If you patent, if you small, if you have you have less number of patent, but they're still on a proportionate ratio. There are similar patterns he has found. For example, he says that some funny example, that a city have so many of Wikipedia pages, and that characteristic remains linear. It's always proportionate. If you go across the globe, pick up the small to big cities, and you map them, plot them, it is going to be a straight line, right? But he says that when the living animals cannot grow unbounded way, cities can grow limitlessly. There is no limit. As I said in the beginning, that it can have more people, it can have scarcity of resources. The moment we have more people, there should be more roads, there should be more infrastructure, but somehow cities can still grow and grow and grow, and there is no limit to it, and they still thrive. And that is because that whenever there is a threat of extinction, there is some path-breaking innovation, and they are able to reboot itself. And that is where the innovation happens. The moment we have seen in the past also, if you relate it to the Industrial Revolution, we have seen that the moment there is some scarcity, something which is not going to take us further, we feel that, okay, this is end to it. And there is something which has happened, which is a path-breaking innovation, and the cities have started growing again. And it has grown continuously over several years, several centuries, and there is no stop. So that's something which I wanted to say, that we are seeing an unprecedented speed of innovation, And also the fact is that, the gap between these two, path-breaking innovations is going to gradually reduce, and this is going to reduce further and further, because we are living in a very uncertain world. As I said in the beginning, the context that the macroeconomic situations of the macro trends, what we are seeing, makes us living in a very uncertain world, and hence the gap between these two path-breaking innovations are going to reduce further and further, right? So what we are seeing here is basically that there will be a continuum of disruption and innovation cycle, and which every business and the society at large need to be prepared for over the next century or so, because it's just the beginning. We are at a tipping point of innovation happening at a speed which is never seen before, and this is going to continue. It is just the beginning, and we are going to see this cycle of innovation disruption happening more than ever going forward. Okay. All right. So let me now, come back to the point, which is about, digital disruption. That, the bigger context I said, that which is the larger macro context, disruptions happening, innovations, why we are seeing such a speed of innovations happening around us. Then what is digital disruption? I think, you all know digital disruptions. There is nothing novel around it. But the way I look at it is that, we are living in a digital society, and that is the fundamental reason why we are seeing so many digital disruptions happening around us. Okay. And what it means, digital society means that it is where socio-technical skill is important. Not just social skill is important, but your technical skill is as important. Can you believe that you can live without knowing how to operate mobile phones? No, you cannot. You cannot live practically, right? So socio-technical skill is important. It has less physical constraint. Okay, you are not really required to be physically present somewhere, right? It's virtual. It's actually more like avatars, your avatars, and no matter where you physically are located, right? As long as your avatar is there in the digital world, you are present, right? No matter physically where you are located. It is also where there is a blurred line between people and things. Okay. And I think I'll come to that point. You have already started seeing how the metaverse experience has come up in the recent time, where there is very blurred line between people and things. I mean, there would be a lot more of people to machine interactions through those virtual representations of, or digital representations of those things, and we will see those evolve going forward more and more. And then also we realize that old ways will constantly be challenged, and we will find that there will be new rules of the digital societies evolving. For example, there are already thinking that how to regulate this digital world. Facebook for that matter, what is good, what is not good, what is privacy, what is breach of privacy. So those are things which are going to be evolved, and we will come up with new rules, new ways of working within this digital society and live within this digital society. So this is what is digital society at a large. A funny example could be in Germany, the street lights are put in the pavements because the digital natives, when they walk on the pavements, they are looking downwards because they have mobile phone in their hand. So they never look up to look at the street lights. So they put the street lights on the pavement rather than putting on the usual places where we normally see them, right? So these are example of digital society. Now coming back to the most significant digital disruption trends, and this is my personal list, so please don't quote Gartner for this. But I have picked up a couple of things from Gartner and few other places where what I've been reading recently. I have listed 5 things which I really feel that they are going to be having a significant impact. The way the industries have to work around them, adopt those new technologies, and plan that how they're going to adopt this to create their unique positions and be relevant in the market. All right. So the first one is metaverse experience. And it enables the next level interactions, the virtual physical worlds, the line between them gets blurred, as I said. Perfect example of a digital society. The companies are already using it to provide the immersive experience to its customers, to its partners, and even to its employees. And it's called intraverse when it is meant for the employees, and it is used to create a new kind of virtual work environment for these new companies and employees of these new age companies going forward. And that's going to pick up, and that's going to gain more traction going forward. The second one is unmanned aerial vehicles, which is much beyond than just drones. Drones we have already seen, but this is also sometimes referred as self-operating aircrafts or passenger drones, which are human without a human pilot. And these are going to be primarily for short distance transportation in urban areas. And the advantages, why it is going to be important, the advantages it's providing is less expensive, safer, and less carbon. And that's something which is very important. As I said, the macro trend that the trend which I talked about, which is about climate and sustainability. Anything which is going to reduce my carbon footprint and all is going to be very big macro trend which we need to be aware of, and we have to work around that. The third one is digital human economy. The possibilities of digital humans are endless, and it ranges from customer service, medical care, training, or even bringing disease back to life, jokingly, quote unquote, creates an opportunity for new digital ecosystem underpinned by technology that brings individual and organizations together and interact in new ways. The fourth one is the wireless electric vehicle charging, and that's something which is very, very new, which something which I read for the first time. It says that it uses dynamic charging to extend the range and reduce cost, and it's already a big market in advanced developed economies. It's going to be a big market going forward. And then the new chip technology, as you know, that chip technology is something which is significantly important and critical for us for any kind of innovations what we are seeing, be it the mobile related technologies or communication related technologies. And the recent most development which is happening is that how we can replace the silicon based transistor design to something which can give even bigger advantage of the size and all of that. And the latest technology around that is graphene, which is a carbon based transistor, and it doesn't have any limitation which silicon has in terms of its minimum size which they can reach. So that's something which is going to again open up new possibilities and new opportunities in the wireless communication, particularly in the wireless communication going forward. All right. And then, how does organization go about it? I mean, what they should do to create a robust, digital platform for that matter, or digital technology platform. And that's something which I can borrow from Gartner. It has a very simple but yet very powerful model, which says that it has fundamentally 5 elements. And the 5 elements, the first one is customer. You have to think that how you can serve your customers more digitally. Okay. The second one is things. Things means that anything which is machine, how you can create a digital twin for them, and then and sort of work with them in the digital ecosystem. For example, if you have a supply chain, how do you make sure all your physical things has a digital representations, and that helps you to track, monitor, control them remotely and also on real-time basis. You don't need to actually go to that place and see what is the status. You can already have their status digitally in front of you. So that's things. The third is the IT systems. Of course, your IT system should be ready to take advantage of this digital transformation and creating a robust digital platform. The fourth one is ecosystem, and ecosystem is something which you have heard so many times. What essentially it is basically how you work with your partners, your customers, your suppliers, and create a business model which is resilient, which is much more interoperable, and in a way that gives better control of your products and your supply chain and all of that, right? So that's ecosystems. And then finally, intelligence, which is basically how you use your data for taking real-time decisions, or maybe have lesser human intervention to take decisions and take right decisions. So these are the five elements for a robust digital technology platform to be built for any organizations to transition towards a digital transformation and tackle all these disruptions, all these macro trends what we have discussed over the last few minutes. So that's all from me. Now we can open the floor for any question if you have. Sorry, I have taken a little bit extra time, but I hope the discussion was meaningful, and I'm happy to take any question.
Thank you so much, Arindam. I think I request any one of you either to ask, or you can put your questions in the Q&A box, right? But let me begin for that, Arindam. I think one of the things that we get to see, one of the biggest narrative across the countries, across the the corporate agenda is what is called as the digital transformation. And some time back, you talked about the 5 ways in which companies can actually prepare for digital transformation. But the biggest thing, I think, one of the things that you look at is that should it be at a strategic level, or should it be at an operational level? Because ultimately it is all about making sure that every customer facing function also has to be digitally integrated. So therefore, as a company, it becomes a corporate agenda. So how do you get that the culture element into it? Because ultimately it is also about the fact that the last mile should be also digitally integrated. So therefore, how does this culture play a big role, or what kind of role does it play to ensure that any company is digitally prepared and therefore eventually it gets transformed, Arindam?
Yes, that's a very good question, Dr. Chaudhary. And the answer what I wanted to give to it is that it's definitely driven by the strategy, and it's not about technology or IT. There is a big mistake a lot of companies probably would make, even if they think that, okay, this is not strategic decisions, but this is an IT decisions, or maybe somebody within the IT organization should drive digital transformation. Digital transformation is more about business transformation rather than IT transformation, and hence the importance of creating that strategic visions and then in integrating that across different parts of the business. It can start from the IT, because it has to start with creating the robust platform and then build on top of it. For example, as I said, if you have to serve your customer more digitally, then you have to have some technology platform ready to serve that, right? Or maybe you already have a technology platform, but you need to have some tweaks so that you are really serving your customers more digitally. Similarly, as I said, if you have to create your business more resilient, you have to get more transparency, more visibility, and interoperability across your partner supplier networks, and make your supply chain more robust. You have to have Internet of Things as part of your digital strategy. And to have that, you have to have some technology platform or IT systems which will support, but it is not really IT strategy or something which IT itself can drive. It has to be driven through the business from the top, from the CEO. It's more like CEO's agenda, that how I can transform to our digital organizations and make my digital transformation across the organization, rather than thinking that it's going to be just IT's responsibility. That's my answer.
Very good. I think related to that one, maybe as a follow-up to this one, is that we also get to hear 2 broad approaches to this digital transformation initiative. Arindam, please correct me if I'm wrong. What we get to hear is 2 approaches are, one is a completely top-down approach. That's one, that where it becomes a corporate agenda. Then you identify the the entire of the key agenda with the timelines and all this. So that's one way to do it. The other way of looking at it, other option that I keep reading about is that don't do this, don't disrupt company digitally at once, but then can we create small outfits, maybe 5 or 6, for example, something to do with IT itself, something to do with the marketing, something to do with the sales, or to do with like you rightly said, customer service or customer experience, whatever it is. Now you create this kind of outfit, maybe 5 or 6, and then make sure that they have developed end-to-end the digital transformation initiative for their respective division. That's one. But they also are mandated to ensure that they also create the backward and forward integrated linkages, in the sense that they should know exactly how their digital transformation initiative is going to be affecting the departments within the company, and therefore the entire ecosystem within the company. So therefore, once that is matured, each one of them, they're matured, then slowly integrated them into the company. So therefore, eventually, the company doesn't feel that kind of, the what is effect as it had been the other way around, where it is just a company-wide approach. So which one do you suggest, and which one, according to you, that you would have witnessed most of the times in companies across the globe, and definitely in India also, Arindam?
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. I think in my perspective, the approach which is most important would be to identify, as you said, I mean, this transformation should not disrupt your current business, right? You want to make sure that you are still running your business and you are able to serve your customer the present ways, and then incrementally move towards more digitalization, right? I mean, it's not a shift overnight, but it's a journey, and that's why it's often called a digital transformation journey, rather than saying that okay, it's a shifting. It's not like implementing an ERP system. Like the day you cut off to a new ERP system, then you are digitalized. It's not like that. It's a digital transformation which takes time, and the important thing is that why it is top down is because as business you have to identify which are the KPIs, which are the top performance indicator which you want to monitor, whether it is the percentage of your sales happening through digital channel, or percentage of your internal processes which are less manual and more digital, whatever it is. But I think it is important that you have to set up those key performance indicator for you to set a target, and then you have to go incrementally. And also, when you go incrementally, the challenge is what is faced often is that transitioning to digital is a new kind of need or new kind of requirement which a lot of organizations probably not used to have, right? I mean, for example, you have to have fast fail approach. You cannot experiment and then after spending way too much time you find that okay, this is not working, right? I mean, digital transformation, another way you can describe it is leapfrogging ahead using breakthrough technologies, right? I mean, digital transformation is not always just an incremental benefit. It's something which is a significant benefit, leapfrogging ahead using breakthrough technologies. You talk about emerging technologies which you don't have much experience of using it earlier, right? So a lot of time what happens is you have to experiment with those technologies to be certain that yes, this is going to give real benefits. And then how do you get budget allocated? Because you don't know what is going to be the ROI. How you go, your team understands how to use those technologies or how to quickly train them on those technologies, implement them and see whether this is working or not, and then have that fast failure mindset that if you experiment, if you find that okay, it is not working, it is not giving the ROI you desire, then stop it and then try out new things, right? So all these things are challenges. So it's combination of top down, setting the vision, but also bottom up and trying and testing it and see how best we can transition and how best we can get business return from these investments.
In fact, very well said, Arindam. In fact, I just happened to read sometime back, I just put down here also in chat box. SMR, the Sloan Management Review, has published a beautiful article called "How the Wrong KPIs Can Doom the Digital Transformation." That's in spring 2022 issues. Very well articulated article, and just it echoes the things that you said just now, kind of thing. Now, other question related to this one is that I think somewhere, correct me if I'm wrong, Arindam, is that I think in one of the Gartner pieces itself, I read that it made a distinction between features, fad, and disruption. I think they may, right? The features is a continuous, process of every companies, whether it's at a functional level, at a strategic level, whatever. I know that's one. The fad is something that it comes and then it's like a reverse V kind of. So you should know exactly what it is like. But the disruption is there for a long time. It is going to disrupt not just your company but also the entire ecosystem itself. So just taking the note of what streaming has done for this entire industry, like I think look at the way I think Disney TV Plus, right? I think what it is achieved in just 1 year, what Netflix has achieved in 12 years kind of thing. That's what the economist and everybody talks about. In 1 year time, it is able, in terms of subscriber base I'm talking about. But having said that, what streaming has done is definitely it has disrupted the television industry, cable industry, right? And then the Hollywood or the movie industry itself, and definitely the video rental business itself. This one stroke, I think this has actually the big, it disrupted not just one, but almost about 4 to 5 industry, right, Arindam? So therefore, how do you find and how do you expect the companies to make a distinction between is it just a feature, the competitors introduce, or is it going to be fact that I don't have to respond because every time respond costs you some resources, therefore, right? And that's the second one. And the third one, most important thing is now companies have to definitely have to be convinced themselves, yes, is it a disruption that requires a specific response, and therefore what is going to be the intensity of response that way. So therefore the bigger question is, how do you expect the companies to make a distinction between features, fads, and disruption? So therefore companies can have a good response and appropriate response. Sometimes the delay can be quite costly. Sometimes too much of early response also can be costly, because if it is going to be turning out to be fad, then all the money that you have invested is going to be going down the drain. So from that perspective, what kind of signals that you think companies should be looking for, so therefore they're absolutely prepared, kind of thing, Arindam?
Yeah, that's a beautiful question, and frankly, there is no easy way to go about it. There is no defined way that, okay, this is exactly the way you understand that which are the ones where you should invest your time and money and energy, and this is going to give you the benefit, because these are the ones which are disruptions and not really the fads. One of the things which is important, of course, taking expert advice, like that is why Gartner hype cycle is so popular, right? People actually keep tracking that which are the new technologies which are coming up, where in the hype cycle they're currently positioned, how they're going to move across the hype cycle, and how it's going to look like over the next 3, 5, or 10 years. So expert advice is something which is important, but also one of the thing which is called continuous foresight, and it's basically an interesting way how companies keep a tab on all these new industry trends which are coming their way. And it's interesting because no better than that particular organization know what is happening in their industry. It is a matter of how to establish that continuous foresight as a function which happens across the industry, across that organization, and creating a hub and spoke kind of an architecture whereby you can empower your people who are at the floor, at the ground level, interacting with your customer, to pick up those signals and then pass on to a central team, just to understand that what is happening new in the industry and which can pose a threat over time or time to come, and then you prepare yourself towards that. And as I said, there is no easy answer. If you don't take actions, you fall back, and then it will be difficult for you to catch up. So the moment you pick up any significant threat or significant trend, you have to take actions. You have to start small, see how it is going, how it is working, and then fail first. As I said, that you cannot spend too much of money, too much of time, and then say that, okay, it didn't work. You have to have that startup mindset or lean startup mindset to start early, fail fast, and then move on. So I think there is no easy answer that how do you really distinguish what are the disruptions, real disruptions, from the fads and the features. But these are few things which you should continuously do and prioritize as an organization strategy to move forward and be ahead of the game, I would say.
Thank you. I think we have a question from Mr. Arindam Ganguly. His question is, I think, more of a perspective, but nevertheless, let me put it there. His perspective is digital transformation in banking domain. transforming cash usage to wallet payment or digital payments. Thank you, Arindam.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm not sure about the question though.
Arindam, if you're there, would you like to articulate your question? Yeah, Arindam, go. Yeah, go ahead. In case if you want to add to your question or maybe perspective, Arindam.
He's not audible.
Yeah, I think if you're there, Arindam, can you please unmute yourself? Or Tanishram, can you please No, I think fair enough. I think maybe he will join back. But I think that largely, I think what he's referring to is the kind of a perspective, especially in the BFSI sector, right? Digital payments and the digital payment industry. I think the next one that we're looking at is going back to, I think one of the questions that you asked is about innovation and disruption. Does disruption, I mean, which one leads to the other one? I know it's always a the catch-22 kind of situation, right? But then would you like to say, I mean, would it be appropriate to say that we have had equal instances, that means where innovation has led to disruption, or disruption also led to, I mean, definitely disruption warrants innovation. There's no bigger, right? Because, for example, let's say you look at the Spotify. I think the Netflix has come out with this beautiful web series, the 6 the series called The Playlist, right? I think that actually captures everything that has happened for Spotify, right? I think there was some gentleman, his ideas about how do you democratize music, because that was the days of the Napsters and all that, where people are whacking the music rights and then they're not sharing the revenue with the label owners and the studios and all that, and then definitely the artist for sure, right? So therefore, and it was very difficult for someone to articulate a business model, let alone the revenue model part of it, right? And therefore, it was very difficult. Overnight they couldn't get it, because that time the power was definitely with the label owners, so they could control the artist, and therefore the distribution also. That's what it is like. But come these guys, I think that they have of course it was a debate about illegality and illegal and all this kind of thing. But once the Spotify, the very idea on which the company came into fame is, they said that no, we will come out with a beautiful model where we can make a justice to the companies, the artists, and the companies and the label owners. So therefore, that's a kind of innovation that has come in, but that has also led to a lot of disruption. So would you agree that kind of thing? Because in industry after industry, we have seen, not just, for example, some time back I was talking about the streaming industry. When somebody has done it, when the Blockbuster was there before the Netflix, right? I mean, it went out of the business because it could not see the digital part of it, but Netflix could see it in the video rental firm it was, and the way it transformed itself from being a pure video rental firm to a digital firm. That's the story there. But if you look at the Spotify, the way it has innovated, it actually disrupted the industry itself, the music industry. I mean, would it be good to say that, where a company's innovation has led to disruption in the ecosystem or in the industry itself, Arindam?
Yes, absolutely. I have no doubt that it actually one leads to the other. I asked this question to get some perspective from the floor and for my learning as well, that if anybody has any examples to share, and thanks for you to share this example. I've not seen that series, but definitely, yes. I mean, there are so many examples that, companies could innovate and then that led to disruptions in the whole industry. And that is the definition what I shared, right? I mean, that's a definition of innovation, which is commercialization of an idea to solve a human problem, right? So I think that human problem may be a disruption, a big disruption, like, what has happened in the COVID, like disruptions, or, it could be some other human problem and some innovative mind, they thought that, okay, I could come up with something which is novel, and that led to disruptions to the whole industry, or maybe even other industries. So totally agree with your view, Dr. Nagendra. I think that's perfectly makes sense.
I think Indrajit has a question. Go ahead, Indrajit, if you have a question, please. Yeah, go ahead, Indrajit, please.
So, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I just want to ask you that, like if you look at our ecosystem for the last, I would say, perhaps, 4 or 5 years primarily, we have now, more than 100 unicorns, which are in India, which are India born. So what do you feel that this is just the beginning? Are we just at the cusp of some changes, or we've reached somewhere?
In terms of the startup ecosystem, you mean?
Yeah, and the disruptions, which everybody is coming and solving some problem.
Yeah, see, I am a big believer in startup ecosystem, 100%. I feel that this is just the beginning. There is lots and lots of opportunities which is out there. And especially if you think of economy like India, right? There are so many of problems which can be solved in different ways and novel ways, which probably could not be solved before or was not solved before. So I think this startup economy or startup ecosystem, which is being seen right now, it's just just the beginning of it, and there are so many things which are going to happen over the next maybe a decade or beyond. To come to your point about disruption, see, I think not necessarily all the startups which are becoming unicorns, they are disruptors, right? Some of them are disruptors, some of them they are basically coming up with new models of reaching out to customers, new business models, or maybe they're creating new market. Not necessarily all are disruptors, but in their own rights, they're creating more commercialized ways, or to implement ideas in a more commercialized ways, which is solving some of the other human problems. So I think it's innovative, may not be disruption always, but definitely I'm very, very big believer of startup ecosystems, and I'm very hopeful that it's just the beginning and we are going to see, tremendous progress towards that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Arindam. There's a question from Mr. Ananta Sudhir, and his question is, who should actually be bearing the cost of digitalization? Is it customer or marketer, or both should absorb the cost of digitalization? Thank you, Anand.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And as I said, that, who should bear the cost for the digitalization, because you don't really always get the ROI of your spend, right? You want to add something?
No. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think, the question is about, how do you really make your top management believe that, yes, I mean, this digital, this change or this implementation is important, or this spending is important to test out some new technology or some disrupting technology and see whether we get a strong business result or financial outcome from that. And if we don't see it, we have to scrap it, and we have to say that, okay, that spend was worth testing, but we did not get any result, and hence we moved on. So who spend that budget, or from where that budget comes, it's a difficult question to say. We obviously cannot really charge our customers for those, because that way we become less competitive in the market. Our product cost increases. Most often this comes as an investment. So basically, how do you make your other functions more productive so that you have budgets to spend on innovations and on digital technologies to try out new things and make your company more innovative and more cutting edge. So that's my view how it should happen. It should not be either from customers or any specific divisions like marketing bearing the cost of it, or it's coming from finance and or some other business unit. It has to be an investment budget. That's the main source of this funding. But also at the same time, there are opportunities for any organization to probably optimize their cost from other areas and then save that budget to invest in something more innovative and something more new technology wise, and see whether they have something as return from those investments. Okay. Hope that makes sense.
We have a question from Richa Raj. Go ahead, Richa, please.
Sir, as you said that somebody said here that the innovation is for helping mankind. But do you feel, I feel somewhere that technology is not self-driven, means the people have made it. So the person who has made that technology or who has innovated something, he may have like a positive attitude or a negative attitude. Like if he wants to help the mankind, then the technology will be used in that way. If a person, like in somebody said in medieval period, in that time also people were good and bad. If I think bad people wants to innovate something to do something bad, then technology can also be driven in a negative way, can be used in a negative way to distract something.
I think you are very right. And that's very true with the innovations like artificial intelligence. You know, there is a quote I'm not remembering, made by I think it was sorry, I'm forgetting the name of the scientist, but he said that Stephen Hawking, yeah. So he said that it's either the best or the worst innovation in the humankind, right? And it all depends on how we as human wants to use artificial intelligence. It can be actually for our good, or it can be made use to create harms or create problems rather than any goods or any benefits, right? So you are absolutely right. The innovation will be requiring a lot of, I would say, it comes with responsibilities, and people have to make sure that they're using those innovations in a responsible manner. And it's true for any kind of innovations. I think it's just very evident from the recent innovations like artificial intelligence. As you know, that there can be a lot of uses of artificial intelligence which can cause problems rather than any goods, and those requires to be handled in a more responsible fashion. So glad that you asked that question, and that's very relevant.
Very good. I think we are 12 minutes past 7 o'clock. I think thank you so much, Arindam. We have taken more time, but it is absolutely. I hope we don't have any questions, right? But absolutely great to have you, and then share your perspective, with lots of experience in technology space, Arindam, and especially. Especially, also sorry to have disturbed you on a Saturday evening, and thank to all of our participants, wonderful participants, who are very eager to be participant. I mean, very good participants as always. So thank you once again, Arindam, for sharing your perspectives on very, very interesting and very progressive topic. And the answers I think more than answers, I think the questions will continue to evolve in the years to come, because I think that's what the rest of the world, the rest of the companies are doing in terms of finding the right answer. But I think somebody like these people, I think the best thing is also to have right questions, so that we can have the right answers in the eventual times. Thank you so much once again, Arindam, from all of us at the TimesPro and from all of our participants. Thank you so much for sparing your valuable time, especially on a weekend, that on Saturday evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I enjoyed the session, especially the questions were really thoughtful. And I hope you have a great rest of the evening and the weekend ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.